November 20th, 2193, explorers on Mars found a virus called Sura beneath the permafrost on the planet's surface. They discovered that this was the same virus that destroyed the Martian civilization 3.5 billion years ago. This virus spread extremely fast like the Black Death and became a pandemic in the year 2198, but what was about to happen was truly terrible and scary. In 2193, human civilization reached its peak. Modern technology has solved almost 80% of humanity's problems. However, as the population reached the 20 billion mark and resources were depleted very quickly, the Earth became an extremely harsh place to live, and the gap between rich and poor was extremely terrible. To solve the problem of the capitalists and the richest and most powerful people on the planet, they decided to build an extremely large artificial planet orbiting the Earth called Elysium. Elysium is a tube-shaped artificial planet, designed in the style of Bishop Ring. In particular, this place is literally heaven. Everything is served by AI and only the nobility can come here. Meanwhile, contrary to imagination, the Earth is a complex place with many residents living together in harmony with more than 20 billion people. Mostly poor, very poor people live together like a large-scale slum with mixed groups, surrounded by only technology dumps with many widespread social evils. Earthlings are forever slaves to Elysian capitalists. In addition, the climate here is heavily polluted, there are no trees, the air is heavily polluted, and the lifespan of Earthlings is only an average of 50 years. In particular, the residents here are not directly served by technology and are controlled and dominated by Elysium's ruling capitalists. The Elysians do not even consider them human. Mars is a planet renovated by Elon Musk's SpaceX Corporation since 2050. Up to now, after 2193, the planet has become home to more than 3 billion people. However, the people who live here are wealthy people who came from exile from Earth. Unlike the other 3 planets, the Moon became a place to mine ores and rare minerals. This is also the place of exile for criminals, prisoners of war, and prisoners from Earth who came here to serve the capitalists. In January 2198, a laboratory at the SpaceX research station revived the Sura virus, which is considered the scariest research of the 22nd century. They quickly discovered that this virus could revive the dead and cause others to go crazy and attack those around them within just 30 seconds of being infected. January 20th, 2193, the Sura virus suddenly broke out throughout the center of Musk City on Mars. A group of Martian refugees then took refuge on Earth in Brazil, resulting in an uncontrolled outbreak in South America. Initially, they were too subjective and believed that AI technology could defeat this necrovirus. Earthlings, with their slow response, allowed the pandemic to quickly spread to Mexico. The Union of Nations on Mars was then convened and launched many counterattacks against the Sura virus pandemic but failed miserably. The United Nations on Earth was also summoned to control the virus, but they were defeated. August 2193, America, the third strongest power in the world, also quickly collapsed after 5 months of resistance. What they did not expect was that the infected people were zombies with the intelligence of normal people, which led to all efforts to resist with advanced weapons and AI technology of the 22nd century. All failed. March 10, 2194, refugees in Canada left Earth to take refuge on the Moon and the artificial planet Elysium, but unexpectedly, they brought the seeds of the Sura virus to this place and created a new wave. Terrible virus outbreak here. The Union of Nations on the Moon then made efforts to fight against the spread of this virus. The lower class on the Moon did not have enough strength to cope with the Sura virus. They quickly failed miserably.
Elysium is no exception. They infected a small island north of this artificial planet. The outbreak then infected much of northern Elysium. Fortunately, the Elysians possessed modern technology and quickly overwhelmed the pandemic. April 21, 94. The United Nations of Nations on Mars collapsed. They seemed to fall before the Sura virus pandemic. Realizing that the situation was not very positive, the governments of the Earth, Martian and Moon supreme leaders asked for aid from Elysium, hoping Elysium would come to their aid. Contrary to expectations, the Elysians and high officials refused aid for the sake of safety and quarantine. Even to avoid widespread infections from Earthlings, Martians, and Lunars to Elysium, the Elysians declared a ban on refugees from them, and vowed to shoot down all refugee ships which enters Elysian orbit. The inhumane actions of the Elysian elite have made the residents of 3 planets fiercely angry. In response to this action, these 3 planets then announced that they would shoot down any Elysian refugee ship that docked in their orbit. However, Elysium possesses advanced technology. They quickly overwhelm and destroy all artificial satellites around the Earth, forcing Earth people to obey the orders of Elysian's supreme leader. July 21, 94, a series of refugees from the Moon and Mars returned to Earth. The Earthlings then opened their arms and accepted refugees from them. June 21, 94, Elysian with modern AI technology. They quickly liberate all Sura virus from their continent. The Elysians then shot down a series of refugee ships from them that passed through Elysium orbit, killing more than 200,000 people. Too angry at the inhumane actions of the Elysian capitalists, the 3 remaining planets allied together and decided to stand up against Elysium. Elysium also declared that they would consider the remaining 3 planets to be enemies, and would destroy the leadership of Earth, Mars, and the Moon, to centralize power in the hands of the Elysian Supreme Council. August 30, 2194, Earthlings continue to receive lunar refugee ships returning to Australia and South Africa. Unfortunately, these ships carry a series of infected people. The terrible outbreak spread out of control across the entire eastern continent. In just 8 months, China, the second strongest power in the world, collapsed. The virus outbreak in South Africa is also out of control. The United Nations Earthlings have asked for help from Mars and the Moon. However, the Elysian government controlled Earth's orbit. They then bombarded all aid ships from Mars and the Moon to isolate Earth in the hands of the Elysian government. Russia, the strongest power in the world at that time, built a giant defense line in eastern Siberia and successfully prevented infection from the pandemic. September 21, 95, all 3 planets besides Elysium are lost to the Sura virus and seem to no longer be able to resist the Elysians. After this event, more than 7.5 billion people on Earth died due to the Sura virus pandemic. The remaining 13 billion people migrated to Europe to fight the pandemic. The actions of the Elysian government have made the people of the planets extremely angry, but they cannot do anything against their supreme power. Extremely dissatisfied with the actions of the Elysian government, a group of Muslim prisoners in Afghanistan exiled on the moon who were former members of the self-proclaimed State of IS planned to terrorize Elysium. On the morning of September 11, 2195, more than 11 spacecraft from the moon crashed into 11 major cities in Elysium. Eight out of 11 spacecraft were shot down by Elysium. The remaining 3 of them successfully crashed on land. What they could not expect was that these ships contained many zombies and people infected with the Sura virus. Millions of zombies floated out of control in Elysium's atmosphere, eventually falling on the 3 main cities of Elysium, like a literal rain of zombies. Elysian residents became more chaotic. The Elysian government was shocked and used every possible measure to fight the pandemic. In response to this action, in April 2196, Elysium sent 2 warships to drop a series of more than 200 nuclear warheads on the moon's surface. The superior Elysians did not hesitate to wipe out 90% of all life on the eastern continent on the surface of the moon. May 25, 2196, after 4 months of being swept by nuclear bombs, more than 195 million people on the moon died, of which 90% were killed by Elysium. Sura only accounted for 10%. Not long after the United Nations, the moon surrendered. Only small bases remained. The United Nations on Earth and Mars could only watch helplessly as their allies were swept away by nuclear weapons, because they could not fire nuclear warheads to fight back through Elysium orbit. This is because after the events of September 11, 2194, the Elysium government declared a state of tightening control over interplanetary orbits. The Elysium government then sent an ultimatum to the people of Earth and Mars to request them to submit and surrender to the Elysium Supreme Council. Amazingly, October 21, 95, a group of researchers on Mars found a vaccine to successfully control the Sura virus. It is the nanotech 201 vaccine that is used to change the weather in the infected area and make the Sura virus unable to survive in the cold. In just 2 months of using the nanotech 301 vaccine, the United Nations Mars has successfully completely eliminated the Sura virus from the surface of the planet. Early March 2196, Elysium suddenly sent an ultimatum to the Martians and threatened them to hand over vaccine nanotech 301 or else they would suffer punishment from the Supreme Council. Without waiting for a response, on the morning of June 13, 2197, Elysium suddenly launched a large-scale attack on Mars with extremely modern AI technology. In just 2 months, Elysium's android army quickly scanned more than 50% of the surface of Mars and asked the Martians to deliver the Sura virus antidote before it was too late. Realizing that the Elysium people were fighting with the Martians, Russia and the European Union quickly coordinated to promote the creation of nuclear weapons to break the defense layer outside Elysium's orbit. November 21, 1997, taking advantage of the opportunity of the Elysium people having a major battle on Mars, the Earth People's Union broke through the Elysium defense layer and attacked the orbit of this artificial planet. More than 4,000 Russian nuclear warheads were fired into Elysium orbit. The Elysium government later intercepted 90% of the nuclear warheads, but was still affected by the remaining 10%. The remaining nuclear bombs broke through the Elysian army's defense against the wave of Sura virus. Too scared, the Elysium government withdrew all military forces from Mars to the mother planet to defend against the wave of destruction from the Sura virus. Taking this opportunity, the Martians launched a fierce counterattack, forcing the entire Elysian force to withdraw from the planet. A small portion of the remaining Elysian people fled to the island continent in the northeast of Mars. In February 21, 1998, 95% of the residents on Elysium collapsed. The Elysium Supreme Council decided to commit suicide on Earth. Anticipating this move, Russia then fired back at Elysium with more than 12,000 nuclear warheads. This time 98% of Elysium was completely destroyed. The entire Elysian capitalist world and the Supreme Council collapsed. Before dying, the leader of Elysium decided to land the artificial planet Elysium straight into Europe to destroy it. Entire human civilization. To react to this situation, Earthlings fight with ballistic missiles to break the artificial planet Elysium into many small pieces to avoid creating a disaster. A group of Elysium refugees eventually fell into Poland. This group of Elysium people then surrendered unconditionally. Unfortunately, the Elysium government deliberately let the artificial planet crash into the Siberian mountains of Russia. In just 4 months, the entire European Union collapsed completely. 98% of people on Earth have perished, leaving only 1 billion people alive. In the end, the Elysium government was completely destroyed. November 21, 1998, the Martian government mass-produced vaccine nanotech 301. Then it took them 3 consecutive months to transport all the technology and vaccine to Earth. In March 21, 1999, the Alliance of Nations on Mars launched a landing on Earth to liberate the entire European continent from the Sura virus. At the end of July 21, 1999, vaccine destroyed all Sura virus from the face of the Earth. The zombie individuals on the moon could not stand the harsh climate there, and they disintegrated and died because they no longer had a host to spread. December 21, 1999, the Three-Planet Alliance attacked Elysium's last headquarters on Mars. On December 31, 21, 1999, a nuclear bomb was dropped on Elysium headquarters on Mars. The Elysians surrendered unconditionally, ending the class division on the 3 planets. January 1, 2200, Homo sapiens are reunited again. and they will never, ever let a similar catastrophe happen again.